and making a real difference in public safety efforts. That said, it's clear that the most robust and successful rapid DNA programs are those with access to offender DNA databases. You'll hear today about recent efforts that could allow Florida law enforcement to access CODIS for rapid DNA evidence. Rapid DNA can be deployed directly by law enforcement officers, not just in crime labs. But a common theme you'll hear today is that the strongest programs are built in close collaboration with your state and local crime labs. And we're very pleased to have a representative from the Florida Department of Law Enforcement with us today to speak more on that critical partnership. We have six distinguished speakers lined up to share insights on the national landscape and the specific advancements happening right here in Florida. The format for today's webinar will be each presenter will speak for approximately 10 to 12 minutes, and then we'll have about 15 minutes for audience questions before closing at 12:30. And you can submit a question at any time during the webinar, and we'll do our best to answer them live. And if time runs short, we'll follow up after this event. And to submit a question, the chat box will be closed, so please post your questions in the Q&A box, which is located at the top of your screen. And your questions will be sent directly to the panel and will not be visible to other attendees. And for those of you eligible for continuing education credit for today's event, GTH DNA will be offering attendance certificates. And if you would like a certificate, please email me directly. I'll put my email in the chat box. Thank you again for joining us today, and please enjoy today's event. Our first presenter is Lisa Hurst. Lisa is the Director of North America for GTH DNA, where she has worked for over 25 years on forensic DNA public policy and legislation. Lisa will give us an overview of rapid DNA, a legal review, and federal funding opportunities related specifically to Florida. Over to you, Lisa.
Thank you, Lauren. So as Lauren just said, I'll be giving you sort of a quick overview of what's been going on with Rapid, a little bit of a primer. So to begin, what is Rapid DNA? Rapid DNA processes DNA samples in 90 minutes, and it was specifically designed to have an end user outside of the crime laboratory. So it was designed for operation by non-laboratory trained personnel. You do not need to be a DNA analyst to utilize the Rapid instrument. It does use the same scientific methods as what is used in crime labs, and it's a self-contained desktop-sized instrument. You'll get a little run through, a preview in a few minutes of what that looks like. But again, it can be used in the booking stations. It can be used right in your precincts to run DNA samples. This gives you an opportunity for quick investigative leads within hours, rather than waiting the days, usually at least weeks, sometimes months, of course, for the crime laboratories, which are already inundated with a lot of DNA requests for casework and have big backlogs. It allows you to get that quick investigative lead, kind of a presumptive, especially if we're talking about evidence, sort of a presumptive lead for your investigation. Really starts to change that dynamic of how DNA is used. It pushes it to the front of your investigation rather than having it at the end of your investigation. A few notes, though, of Rapid DNA. Rapid DNA is not a replacement for your traditional lab-based analysis. You are going to need cooperation and relationships with an accredited crime laboratory to use these instruments in the correct manner. It is not advised for complex casework. So your mixtures, a mixture is almost necessarily a rape kit. There are different types of rape evidence from maybe outside the body where it would not be a mixture, but it's not good for rape kits. Anything that's a mixture, it's not good for very degraded samples, and it's not good for touch DNA. So very minor amounts of DNA, it's not great for. Those types of cases absolutely should still be sent to the crime laboratory. And it's not yet been challenged for admissibility in court. It has been used in court a few times, but the defense has not yet actually challenged that admissibility. We haven't had those admissibility hearings. One of the reasons for that is that the need for an admissibility hearing has been largely mitigated by the use of A swabs and B swabs. And you'll hear more about this throughout this webinar. This is a recommendation that has come from some of the scientific working groups that the FBI has led, where from every crime scene, if you intend to use a rapid DNA instrument, you take 2 swabs from the same crime stain. You want to have an A swab, your best swab. That swab is always going to go into your chain of custody, possibly straight to the crime lab, or at least into your evidence rooms. The B swab, that's the second swab. That's the one that's great for the rapid instrument, assuming you have enough evidence from that crime scene. The B swab then is that presumptive lead to get you to the next step in the investigation that you can get an answer in 90 minutes. And as I've said a few times, the best local law enforcement rapid programs are those that are developed and have a coordination with an accredited crime lab. Hopefully, your public crime laboratories that already serve your agencies will provide that, what we call reach back support. But if not, there are, and you'll hear this today, there are some agencies that have used some of our privately accredited crime laboratories. They do meet the same accreditation standards, but the private labs will cost you a little bit of money. So arrestee DNA identification, I just want to note, there's 2 uses of rapid DNA. One is sort of on the individual offender identification. The second would be more evidence or human remains. The booking station, this was the first sort of outreach or use case that the FBI set up regulations for. It's for processing arrestees based on your state law. If your state law allows for the collection of arrestees and processing at the booking station, you could follow this guidelines. The green states you see over here are states that have arrestee laws versus some that don't have arrestee laws at all. So obviously Florida is in that arrestee group. It's really valuable. Some of the bonuses or benefits of having booking station enrollment with rapid DNA, again, you make that 90-minute connection to other possible crimes. As soon as they're fingerprinted, their DNA sample is collected, it's run through the rapid machine within 90 minutes before you have to worry about releasing somebody, before you have to worry about loopholes. Did you catch the sample? Did you not catch the sample? It gives you that feedback on whether or not there's been any other crimes that this person has committed before you have to make decisions, or before the courts make decisions about who gets released. And then it also potentially saves dangerous situations where your officers have to go back out and arrest that person for a subsequent crime or for that prior crime, because you didn't get the feedback in time that there was a match on the database. So it's a game changer. Louisiana was the first state to implement rapid DNA booking stations. Florida is rolling out, and I didn't get an update, but I believe that all of the sites, the 10 sites in Florida, have rolled out, and I believe there's more kind of in the chain that are coming. We also have a number of other states which are also in the process of trying to implement an arrestee enrollment booking station. This is not, my slide didn't save. I'm really sorry, guys. I updated this slide. You're not Nevada, you're Florida. So this would have been a green, I apologize, a green check mark. The green check mark, you have the right type of law in your state. You also already have these booking stations, again, that you're allowed to collect right at arrestees. The thing in Florida that might just be holding some of your local jurisdictions up, again, great news. The state has done the infrastructure that it is supposed to do, that it needs to do in order to allow the CODIS interchange with local booking stations. In order to access that, each local live print systems will also need to kind of qualify for authority to operate, which also kind of means some IT upgrades. So that's moving forward in Florida. We had some successes with the first place in Louisiana. I mean, this is just an example. I know Florida's already had some successes as well, across state lines, as well as solving some really important homicides, and rapes and other crimes. And with just the first few matches when Louisiana first came online, that was again back in 2022. So these have been around for a little while. Evidence applications then. So this is the one that we're going to spend most of the time on today. This is what gets people more excited. The direct one-to-one comparison, that's when you have somebody you already know committed a crime, you connect it to the crime scene evidence, your suspect. And again, it moves that DNA to the front of the line. That can be done now within your local jurisdictions. You're also going to hear today from some local databases where agencies have had some really great success developing their own DNA database programs using local suspects who voluntarily give their samples. And, a lot of crime is local, so they have a lot of success matching some of their unsolved crime scenes to people that are in their custody or who have become suspects. Again, the next level would be searching your state-only database. This is not searching CODIS, not the national DNA database, but the Florida DNA database. This is in a lot of states, we say hundreds of thousands. Actually, in Florida, you're talking about well over 1 million offender profiles in your DNA database. It's the second largest one in the country. So Florida has not done this type of program at this time, but there are a number of states. Again, they've had very successful programs. I think you'll hear a little bit more about the Pennsylvania program a little bit later today. This also did not update again. So Nevada has a pretty small database. Florida, your offenders are over 1 million. I think it was 1.5 million offenders, convicted offenders in the database, and your arrestees were somewhere around, I want to say 500, 600,000. Those are new stats as of January of this year for Florida. So a very powerful database already in Florida and great use of DNA. You've also had more matches on your DNA database for Florida than every other state except for California. So CODIS, comparison to CODIS, this is the big thing that everyone is the most excited about. Currently, rapid evidence is processed, cannot be searched against CODIS, but you're going to be hearing about change that's coming this year, actually in July. You want to be ready to be able to access that. Be talking with your crime labs, especially. You'll be hearing again from the FDLE today as to what their plans are to help you get access to that program, to the CODIS searches with Rapid. But I would just point out that your crime labs are going to need support from law enforcement. They're going to need some of their own additional resources, additional personnel to provide the support that's required for this CODIS search using Rapid. So make sure you're talking to everybody and that people are ready for what's coming. Just a quick note, Rapid has been used extensively across the country in a bunch of different states. There's only actually a small handful of states that have not been using Rapid yet, either within the crime lab, or a lot of agencies have been using Rapid outside of the crime lab as well. So it's not new. A lot of agencies, just as a funding note, this is another issue we work with, is the earmark process. These were the earmarks that we've been working with over the last 4 to 5 years. The process for FY26 is actually, the deadline has already passed if you wanted to apply for that funding. However, FY27 might be a new year. We always have to watch from year to year as to what Congress is up to. But that's a great opportunity for funding. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Our next presenter is Robert O'Brien. Robert works at the Global Forensic Justice Center at the Florida International University. Robert will provide a technical overview, including capabilities and limitations of rapid DNA systems. Thanks for joining us, Robert. Over to you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Okay, so just going to go over some basics about rapid DNA to make sure everybody understands what's all involved in the process. There's a lot more to it than what I'm going to go over, so happy to, if anybody wants to reach out to me to ask me more technical questions, happy to engage in that. So the rapid DNA system, it collects and processes samples in about 90 minutes. It compresses the standard DNA analysis workflow into an easy-use mobile process. So that's one of the very important things about it. It's basically taking all of the processes that you do in the lab and compressing it into a 90-minute process. It's designed to be operated by non-technical users. That was already brought up. So the whole idea behind this is not to have to train lab personnel for months to be able to run this instrument. Most of the training can be done within actually a few hours, and it requires minimal hands-on time. So the instrument does run for 90 minutes, but the actual time to run it, to get a sample ready, I mean, it does depend on the sample type, but it could be as quick as a couple minutes or a little bit longer if it's a more difficult sample type. So it's a three-step process. Step one, you're going to place your sample into a cartridge, and that cartridge is then inserted into the instrument. The instrument then takes about 90 minutes to process your sample, and then the results come out. These are actually confirmatory. These are the same kits that are being used in the laboratories. So they all do have the 20-core CODIS loci. So therefore, this data can be used to generate investigative leads, but when it matches, it is a definitive match. So the two systems that are on the market, the one on the left is the Rapid Hit ID. So this system is put out by Applied Biosystems / Thermo Fisher, and it can run one sample at a time. It has a cartridge. It has two cartridges. You have a sample cartridge and a primary cartridge, and that's the Rapid ID. The other system is the Andy. This runs 5 samples at a time if they're references, or 4 samples at a time if they're non-references. And so it's a little bit of a bigger system, but it has a higher capacity. Both systems have reference and casework cartridges. So the reference cartridges, for the Andy, it's called the A, and for the Rapid ID, it's called the ACE. These are basically used for reference samples like buccal swabs. They can also be used for high-level blood samples. So if your reference is still blood, which I know most people don't do, but it can process like a lot of blood on the swab. Then there is the iChip, which is for the Andy, or the Intel Plus cartridge, which belongs to Applied Biosystems, the Rapid ID. And that will do your lower-level blood samples. We've done down to 0.5 microliters of blood and gotten full DNA profiles off of it for the Rapid ID. We've done bone, tissue, saliva, whether it's off of cigarette butts or coffee cups or drinking containers, a single pulled hair, and even off of some clothing. We were able to get good DNA profiles. So the process is pretty simple. You're going to probably in about 5 minutes, depending on, like I said, on what the sample type is. But if it is simply a swab, you basically swab, you get your piece of evidence, you transfer the stain onto the swab. That is placed into the cartridge. The cartridge is then placed into the instrument, and within 90 minutes, you're generating a DNA profile. So for the non-technical user, so this may be the people at the point of use, the operators, so they may not be DNA analysts. The system does give them immediate feedback. So first of all, they should give you a green check mark. Those are going to be a full profile, usually a perfect profile. So for those familiar with DNA, if there are things like dropout or imbalances and things like that occur within the DNA profile, those won't be green. So when we say green, we mean this is a perfect full profile, everything looks great. Then they're going to be the yellows. Now the yellows are the ones that are going to require usually somebody else to take a look at them and make a determination if they're good or bad. Yellows can range anything from a near perfect profile, where maybe everything is like you have 20 markers, which are all perfect, but then one marker has an imbalance on it. So gray profile can still be used for matching, or a yellow could be a sample that is virtually blank. There's just one single peak, which in that case would not be able to be used for matching. And then, of course, there's the host of in-betweens, including mixtures. Mixtures will register as a yellow. And then finally, there's red. Usually when there is red, it means the process did not go to completion, the actual DNA process. So that could be because of a problem with the reagent cartridge or a problem with the instrument. usually not a sample issue. Sample issues, normally you'll see a yellow for those. But if it's an instrument issue or reagent issue, it's going to come up with a red symbol, whether it be a red X or some kind of red check mark. So matching and technical support. So both of the Rapid softwares do have the ability to match, actually do matches on board on the computers that come along with the systems, so that if anything that is on that computer that you've run before, if you run another profile, another sample that is the same as it, it will actually trigger a match for you. So you will have that match. For yellows, like I said, is when you're going to need your technical support. So this is where they talked about partnering up with a crime laboratory so that they can review your yellows and let you know that, hey, yes, this is a good data and can still be used, or this data cannot be used. Now, there is training that can be provided. We provide that type of training to at least be able to help non-lab personnel determine, okay, this is a great profile and this is a useless profile. So it kind of hopefully minimize to the more difficult ones that you can send back to your reach back support. So validations, you definitely should be validating these instruments in the way you intend to use them. So obviously for your RESTs, you're looking at single source, high level samples. You're not looking at mixtures and you're not really looking at low level. But when you start going into your evidentiary type samples, your crime scene type samples, you are going to have to do more sensitivity studies and more mixture studies to determine how you want to use these rapid DNA instruments. There was talk earlier about the A-swab, B-swab method, where the A-swab will go directly to the DNA lab for processing, and then the B-swab is run on the rapid ID for investigative leads. There's also the bouquet swab method, where you attempt to take 2 swabs and swab the stain at the same time. Obviously, that will be limited to larger stains. And rapid DNA companies, if you're purchasing a device, you should ask them. They should be providing you with protocols on what's the best way to sample certain different types of things. For example, cigarette butts, gum, hairs, bone. They should be providing you those protocols to run on their instrument in case they're specific to their instrument. And that's all I have. My contact info is robrien@fiu.edu. I'm happy to answer any questions or email me at any type of support you may need. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Our next presenter is Sheriff Fred Herron. Sheriff Herron is currently the Sheriff of Bucks County, Pennsylvania. And before being elected sheriff, Fred was an earlier pioneer of using rapid DNA when he was the police chief of the Bensalem Township. Over to you, Sheriff.
Thank you, Lauren. Can you see it in the mode?
Yep, looks good.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And thanks for joining. A lot of people on this morning. So this is great to spread the word regarding Rapid. Let me just move this over if I can, which I can't. So, okay. Second. Well, is it still there or no?
Yep, so you'll go to from beginning.
Okay. All right.
There you go.
All right. So my name is Fred Herron. I'm the sheriff of Bucks County, Pennsylvania. So Pennsylvania, we're way to the north of you, obviously, and we are in the southeast corner of the state. And that's important because we border the city of Philadelphia to our direct south. And Philadelphia, great city to border, but it brings a lot of crime with it. Right now, Philadelphia is considered the opioid capital of the United States, and the 4 counties that surround it, which I am one of, gets a lot of the issues that come out of the city. But my county is very, very long, and this comes into play when we're talking about Rapid. It's all kind of shaped like Italy. It takes about an hour and 25 minutes to get from north to south in the county. And it's pretty narrow, but it's the length of the county. So we'll talk about where we got our first Rapid machine and kind of what we're doing it and why we're expanding the project. And you can see the population. We have about 626,000, about 1.4 million during the daytime. Pennsylvania is a Commonwealth, so there's a lot of police departments in Pennsylvania. In our county, we have 39 police departments with just under 1,000 officers, and they're all trained in DNA collection. So Pennsylvania, does not have rapid in booking stations, nor will we for a while, as far as swabbing individuals and getting them to the system through into CODIS anytime soon, because we are not an arrestee state. So the booking station model is not something that's going to work for us in the long run, although we take DNA voluntarily, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But until Pennsylvania passes arrestee legislation, that's not going to really be an option for us. And I don't know why. We've tried to get this in front of legislator a couple of times. It's died, but we're one of 19 or 18 states now that has not done that. So what we do is we utilize crime scene to suspect, which is the easiest way to utilize the rapid machine. It's very effective. You have DNA at a crime scene. You have a suspect, whether in custody or somebody that you might be getting a search warrant for, or just voluntarily getting their DNA and putting it into the system, and we're getting a lot of matches. And we'll talk about that a little later. Casework against state offender databases at this time. We're gonna talk about that in a few more minutes. Kind of at the presentation, there's a lot of cool things happening in Pennsylvania with respect to that. So we're going to come back to that. So what we do also is we do a local database. You've heard somebody mention that a few times now. So we started in 2010. I'll go into a little bit more detail, getting our own database here and just having a lot of samples in that database. And when we have people in custody, we get voluntary swabs and get them in that database and get a lot of hits off of that. So in 2010, Pennsylvania really has 3 CODIS labs. Allegheny County, which hosts Pittsburgh, which is our second largest city. Philadelphia County, which is home to just Philadelphia and Philadelphia Police Department. And then the Pennsylvania State Police that do an amazing job, and their lab is amazing folks in that lab, but they're one lab for over 1,100 and some odd police departments. That's a lot for one lab to handle. So it took us a long time to get results back. They weren't really doing property crime, so it was really only major assaults and sexual assaults and robberies and homicide. Most of my crime is property crime. Even though I'm outside of Philadelphia, it's drugs, property crime, some robberies, but we don't get a lot of whodunit homicides, and we don't get a lot of whodunit sexual assaults. They're normally knowns, domestic, family-related, people that know each other. So there's not a lot, with DNA searching when it comes to those particular crimes. But in 2010, we went live with our own database. Kind of was the first local databasing in the area. Florida, there were 4 municipalities in Florida that were doing it, and we became the first ones up north. Connecticut came on board. There was somebody in Connecticut doing it, and then it's span out over time. But March of 2017, 7 years later, we went online with Rapid. And what's some of the success that you're going to hear about in a few minutes? What a game changer. There's been a lot of, a handful of game changers in law enforcement, and I've been doing this now 39 years. This is one of the major game changers, Rapid. As I said, there's 3 other counties besides Philadelphia that border us. Montgomery County came on board shortly after, and I think Chester just came on within the last 12 months. Then we all know what was going on in 2020 and 2021. COVID came into the world, but prior to that, we were negotiating with the city of Philadelphia to run a regional database. And this is going to come into play to what's going on now in Pennsylvania, where they ran a Lotus outside of their CODIS in a small pond database where crimes were put into that standalone database. And then they were able to get the information from us, the reference samples that we were swabbing, and we started getting some amazing hits. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes. The focus of the program, this is not an initiative. It's not a program. It's not a project. It's a way of policing. Just like other things that we do, whether it's mental health or drugs or community policing, it's a way of policing. The officers play the biggest role in this. And we have our supervisors and detectives are trained in Rapid. Rapid is what I like to call, and a lot of you have heard this expression, cop proof. I mean, if you can operate a microwave, the only thing it doesn't do is cook a hot dog. But if you can operate a microwave, you can operate Rapid. It's that simple. But And I don't know the breakdown. I see the names. I see some ranks on the attendees. So I don't know if it's cops or lab or a combination of both. I'll be honest with you. I should have gotten that information ahead of time, but I can see it's a breakdown of both. This is not a replacement of a lab, folks. You have to even have stronger relations with your lab. Your lab will always be an integral part of this. So this is not something you can just do on your own in a bubble away from your lab. You have to have a great partnership with your lab. And certainly we could talk about that offline another day. We get about DNA in 95% of our crime scenes. You know, people might not leave fingerprints behind, but they leave their DNA behind. We get judicial orders, we get people's or DNA or consent. We're getting about 95% of the people that we come in contact with are giving us their DNA. Well, wait a minute. You just said you don't take it at time of arrest. We do ask for it at time of arrest. Just like we ask for consent to search a car and the suspects have 7 kilos in the trunk. Why they do that, I have no idea, but I do have my suspicion why they do it with DNA. And as long as they keep giving it to us, we're going to keep taking it. Train, and more training. We're constantly training people in the DNA, how to get DNA from individuals and from crime scenes. Like Pennsylvania, local law enforcement in Florida is not yet able to search the state database, but I know that is coming to a change very shortly. And Pennsylvania, we have some changes coming up as well. Therefore, I'm going to focus on showing you some of the results that are based on DNA application that is currently available to us. And that is basically crime scene database to suspects. And that's what we're going to focus on real quick. You're going to hear some more cases later. So I'm really not going to talk about a lot. I'm just going to talk about 2. I think they give a good overview of what we're doing. And we literally have hundreds of these examples. So a robbery, multi-vehicle theft investigation. We had, in a 6-month period, we suffered an influx of vehicle thefts and some robberies. In one particular case, we had a point-of-gun robbery to an elderly victim. A suspect was developed in this particular case through some old-fashioned police work, and we were able to get, this person did not give it up voluntarily, but we had enough to get a search warrant for their DNA. And what do you know? We ran their DNA through Rapid, and it hit. It hit to multiple burglaries and armed robberies. And this guy went away for a while. Could we have gotten that person's DNA and submitted through the state to CODIS? Yeah, but it would have taken a lot more time. And how many more robberies and burglaries, how many more victims would there have been there the day after? And the day after that, and the day after that. So we were able to stop this in its tracks. And that's the beautiful thing about Rapid DNA. It takes the word serial out of crime. And I hate to be, sentimental about it, but it really does. It stops criminals in its tracks. There's no other way of describing this technology, and it's just absolutely amazing. But it's not always about locking up bad guys and gals. It's also about making sure that innocent people do not go to jail. That is our responsibility as well. And I know we all and you all know that, but a lot of people out there don't understand that and don't think that's what we're interested in. Well, we know that's not the case. In this particular one case, this elderly woman appeared to be extremely credible, very perfect in talking. No, didn't seem like she was out of it at all. She accused this guy of sexually assaulting her. We got him in videotape in the area. He has a girlfriend in the same complex that she lived. He was already on the sex offenders list. He was a known Megan's Law offender here in Pennsylvania, and he had no alibi. She positively identified him. Let's say DNA never was discovered. He'd be in jail to this day. So we arrested him. Detectives came back after a day or so. They said, something's not right. This guy is just not, most people we know, people confess. This guy's not going for it. There's something in this story is not making sense. I said, well, we got DNA from a coffee cup and DNA from her. And let's get a buccal swab on the guy and run him. Guess what, folks? It wasn't him. Got him out of jail. He spent 3 days in jail. He was innocent. She accused another guy, swabbed him. It wasn't him. After that, we weren't really going much further. We found out later that she had some severe mental health issues, and she came off very lucid and very, very had her wits about her. And you think her family, that would have been a good thing for them to tell us that she had all these mental health issues. Not once did a family member tell us that. So here it is getting an innocent person, exonerating them and keeping this innocent person from going to jail. The other example that's not on here, that I think in July of 22, we had a quadruple homicide and the bodies were buried, destroyed, blah, blah, blah. And we utilized the rapid machine for identification of these bodies. So I don't know if you can hear any stories about identification and mass disasters today on the webinar, but I think that's another thing to keep in mind, that this could be used for that. So as I said, in 21, we got on board with Philadelphia, and we were searching their local database in a standalone, in a small pond database, and we started getting hits to Philadelphia. And it really benefits Philadelphia more than us. We're getting people for retail theft, people for drug warrants are hitting the sexual assaults, unknown sexual assaults, homicides in Philadelphia, armed robberies in Philadelphia. So I think as this continues, you're going to see some major reductions in Philadelphia if this thing continues, and the changes that I think are coming in our state as well. All right, so I gave you some stories and we talked a little bit about it. How about some stats? Right now, we have probably close to 60,000, between 56,000 and 60,000 profiles in our local database, about 1,700 cross-agency hits. Remember those 39 police departments, an hour and 20 minutes from one end of the county to the other. So we're hitting all over our county and outside our county. In the lower end of the county, the borders of Philadelphia, I think it's 46% of the people that they arrest come from the city of Philadelphia. So we're getting a lot of hits there too. Over 700 rapid leads, and to this date, over 3,000 criminal investigations this has played a part in. And that one in red is key, maybe the most important stat here. 26 eliminations and exonerations. That's in our little county and one little speckle of the United States. So imagine what this can do nationwide. Again, we were only looking at property crimes, but it's hitting the violent crimes and narcotics and other crimes as well. We're getting a lot of DNA off of guns. What did we see from this? We saw a 42% reduction in burglary. Now, at the time, a lot of people said, well, the national average was down anyway, so big deal. Well, yeah, it was down 4.5%. I'll take 42 over 4.5 any day of the week. So these are some great numbers. So finally, the last slide, which I think is really, this is hot off the press, so to speak. The Pennsylvania, as I said, there's 3 CODIS labs. Let's talk about PSP, the Pennsylvania State Police, which services all of Pennsylvania, but 2 counties. And there's 67 counties here. So 65 counties are serviced by 1 lab, operated by the Pennsylvania State Police. Crime scene evidence tested on rapid and compared to non-CODIS state criminal database only. So this is coming. They're going to get a standalone like Philadelphia did with their ELDIS. Pennsylvania is going to do it with their ESTIS, a standalone outside of CODIS database. And this is still in the makings. This is not operational, but I'm told this is going to be possibly operational in the next couple of months. And then I'm hoping this goes to a phase 2 that we'll be able to do this with an ENDIS as time goes on. And I got to give kudos. I don't know if he's listening right now. I know he's out here and muted, but Doug and the FBI have been amazing partners to come the distance we have come with their blessing and their work and their integral part of this team, the most important part, because they are the keepers of CODIS and the value of DNA across the spectrum in law enforcement. I can't even to articulate. It's just amazing. Truly stopping crime. And if it wasn't for our partners in the FBI, we would not have advanced. The states would not be doing what we're doing. You would not be doing what you're doing. And they are just, they've been doing an amazing job at working with, the 18,000 law enforcement agencies across this great nation. So kudos to Doug and the FBI and his team. I'm hearing Pennsylvania is going to roll out 15 rapid machines throughout the Commonwealth. The good thing is, I think I started in the beginning, we had 1 in 2017. I know you heard Lisa talk about federal funding. Reach out to your congressman, reach out to your congresswoman. There's money out there to be had. This is a big thing right now in DC. Certainly Lisa's the expert on that, but that's how we got 2 more machines. And now we have one in the way north and one in my office here, my main office in the middle of the county. I have an office in the lower end and one in the upper end of the county. but in the middle of the county. So now instead of an hour and 20-minute drive, you're at a rapid machine, no more than 30 minutes. You can get to a rapid machine in Bucks County. And we're looking for the PSP event to begin now, May, June, July 2025. I have a call tonight with the major, Colette Smith, who is the program leader at PSP for this. I'm actually talking with her tonight about Pennsylvania, so I'm excited for that conversation. This, folks, this is what we're here, whether you're in the lab or you're law enforcement or you're a support service. This is why we took this job, because rapid DNA is the latest and greatest. And this, my friends, will prevent crime, and this will take criminals off the street. And tomorrow, because of what you all are doing, there'll be one less victim in the world. God bless you all. Thank you. And please feel free to reach out to me, my cell, my email, whatever I could do offline to help you. I'm here. This is some great stuff. I'm very excited. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. We are now excited to welcome Christopher Decker, who brings over 13 years of experience with the Marion County Sheriff's Office. He currently serves as the Forensic Laboratory Supervisor, overseeing the DNA Screening Laboratory, Firearms Laboratory, and Lightened Print Unit. Prior to this leadership role, Christopher spent nearly a decade specializing in DNA screening and 2 years working in the Firearms Laboratory. Chris, over to you.
All right. Thanks, Lauren. Is that showing up properly?
Yep, looks good.
Okay, very good. As Lauren said, I got 13 years experience with our forensic unit here at the Marion County Sheriff's Office. Most of that spent in our DNA screening lab, some in our firearms lab, and then now about a year, just over a year in the role as a forensic lab supervisor. I was asked to come share some of our successes using rapid DNA just to give an idea of how it's helping us get answers in cases much quicker than even asking for a rush case at our state lab. So MCSO started using rapid DNA in about 2015. We began with a little device called the ParaDNA from LGC. They are no longer in business. We've also had experience with Andy Rapid DNA, and we're currently using the Thermo Fisher Rapid DNA. So 3 Rapid DNA systems in total. So although we are not the experts on Rapid DNA, I feel like we've got a good handle on the systems and a lot of experience in using them. And as I stated earlier, we've had success with rapid DNAs in many ways. Sort of like Sheriff Horan said, I've got tons of these examples. I could talk about this all day, but I chose 4 that I thought were good to go over and demonstrate. So we'll start off with what we call the Hammer case. Hammer case is an AOA we did with Citrus County, Florida. Some of their forensic personnel called NASA for our help in this case. To give you a rundown, we had an immobile elderly lady who's our victim. She invites people into her home to both help them out and help herself too. So these people that she invites in her home get a place to stay and, in her mind, get on her feet and kind of get their life together. In the meantime, this lady gets help doing her grocery shopping, getting some other chores done around the house that she can't do because she's wheelchair bound. So this time she invites a transient woman who is our suspect into the home to help her and vice versa. After some time goes by, things aren't working out. The homeowner or our victim asks this transient lady to move out because she's not paying any rent. Several days later, Citrus County Sheriff's Office gets a call from the transient woman reporting the homeowner dead and wrapped up in a tarp inside the house, which obviously is disturbing, especially considering she was in stages of decomp and the transient woman lived in this house. So right away, they're wondering why she didn't call sooner. Medical examiner office reports blunt force trauma as the cause of death on the victim. And eventually the Citrus County Sheriff's Office executes a search warrant of this home where the forensic unit finds a hammer with a tiny drop or tiny amount of blood on the hammer. The hammer appeared to be wiped down and clean. However, as often happens, the suspect in this case missed a tiny spot of blood. So Citrus County calls us and they ask for our help with rapid DNA. We tell them obviously we can come over there. So using our rapid DNA, our Thermo Fisher rapid DNA machine, we use the victim's blood card as well as the blood from the hammer to link the victim's DNA to that hammer found in the suspect's room. So I can't remember for what. However, the suspect in this case was already arrested. However, Citrus County took this rapid DNA report to the judge in the arraignment, and because of this, the judge issued no bond for the suspect, which is huge considering she's transient and has no. It's going to be hard to find her later on down the road. So, within a day or so of this crime happening, we're able to get them some results and help them revoke the bond of this lady. Second case we want to talk about is also a Citrus County case. They've been having great luck with our rapid DNA machine, of course. This we call the water bottle case. There is a pastor in Citrus County who's really well respected throughout the county, from what I understand, and he's found dead in his home with a gunshot wound. Apparently, this pastor has a very strict routine, including going to his back porch in the morning where his dryer is, grabbing a shirt out of there, putting a shirt on. They suspect that's where he was shot in the morning, grabbing a shirt out of his dryer. He runs in his home and, like I said earlier, passes away there. Citrus County Sheriff's Office CID and Forensic Unit locate a pile of evidence, including a ski mask, nitrile gloves, a magazine with some ammunition in a wooded area near the victim's home. So that sets off some alarms. Throughout this investigation, the victim's stepson, who they learned at the time was being asked to move out of the victim's house, shows up to the crime scene during the investigation, does his talking, etc. Ultimately leaves a water bottle behind. Again, Citrus County calls us, asks for our help, and MCSO compares the nitrile glove found in the woods to the water bottle via rapid DNA, which link to one another. So that gives them a lead in the case pretty early on. Citrus County then uses the rapid DNA report to obtain a warrant for the stepson's DNA. They take that DNA, forward it off to FDLE to compare against the magazine and ammunition, the DNA found on the magazine and the ammunition in the woods near the glove, which comes back to also be a hit as well. So CCSO was able to get a quick arrest on the stepson / suspect for possession of ammunition by a convicted felon. So pretty quickly after the commission of this crime, this guy found dead. Rapid DNA generates a quick lead and gets this guy off the streets. As Sheriff Moran said earlier, exoneration by rapid DNA is a big thing too. So in 2023, Marion County had a triple homicide case in which 3 juveniles were murdered in this rural remote area. It was a whodunit case, so big deal. County's kind of freaking out. 3 kids are dead. Like I said, this happened in a very rural, underdeveloped neighborhood where there aren't many homes or people. I've been here 13 years, and I said I've only been to this area one time, and that was for this triple homicide. It looked like it was a neighborhood that was supposed to be developed, and it just never happened because most houses in there are either uninhabited or their construction was never even finished. So while MCSO deputies and forensic unit are on the scene, they're pulling a victim out of the trunk of a car which was submerged in a retention pond. Another vehicle drives by, which again, very rural, so it's hard to see any vehicles out there. So it's suspicious. Our deputies stop out with that driver, make contact with him, and eventually realize that his license is suspended. And in doing this, they notice a significant amount of wet blood on and around the trunk of the vehicle. And like I said earlier, one of these victims was just pulled out of a trunk. So that was alarming. The driver alleges he's just been working on his car all day, chose this rural remote area to test drive it. So he's either lying or he's got really bad luck. So he gave us consent to collect his buccal swabs. We took the buccal swabs from the driver, along with the swabs from the exterior of the vehicle. And we actually used rapid DNA to confirm that, yeah, that blood that happened to be all over his vehicle was simply his blood, and his alibi checked out. So again, pretty quickly, we exonerate this guy, his story checks out, and we can move on to investigating other leads. Another case I want to talk about is our familial hit via rapid DNA. So this is kind of a 2-for-1 we got here. This happened this year. In 2025, we had a lewd and lascivious battery case where a baby was conceived. These are really nice cases for us. Well, they're terrible cases nonetheless, but good for DNA. Using rapid DNA, we took DNA from the suspect and the baby and determined that the suspect was the father of the baby. So right there, detectives are getting a quick closure to their case. And that's been a real hit for them in any of their L&L battery cases that involve a baby or any sort of conception at all. However, we were fortunate that rapid hit machine generated a familial hit. So the DNA from the suspect in the L&L battery case generated a grandparent-grandchild familial relationship to a blood swab from an unsolved 2024 burglary case, which we entered last year. So that was very recent. We don't have any results from that yet, but it was a lead in what was otherwise a cold burglary case. and a swab that's been sitting at FDLE awaiting processing. So that case is still being investigated. However, we're hopeful that it can generate a lead, and we're excited that we just got that lead in general. So with the implementation of Rapid DNA and CODIS and whatnot, those may be less popular, but nonetheless a great success story for us using Rapid DNA. So with all that being said, we're excited about the possibilities of Rapid DNA and CODIS eligibility. So MCSO is very close to partnering with FDLE to aid in their Rapid DNA program validation. In fact, I believe the MOUs were finally finalized and are being signed by our command staff and should be sent to FDLE. I would hope within this week or next week, and then I look forward to working with Melissa Sudeth, who is the Rapid DNA program manager for FDLE, and getting this program on board. I think mostly, obviously, violent crimes are a big deal, but I'm really excited to see the reduction turnaround time for our nonviolent cases. Currently, our nonviolent cases are sitting at FDLE for approximately 300 days, so burglaries, auto thefts, etc. I'm really hoping that our cases there, we get blood, saliva, or any other high amount of DNA at those cases is going to drop significantly. So the future is bright. I think you'll hear from Melissa after this. And I'd also like to say, if you are considering implementing a Rapid DNA program at your agency at the local law enforcement level, I'd encourage you to reach out. My contact information is listed below. There's a lot more that goes into it than just buying a machine and running swabs. You've got to get your prosecutor's office on board, your local state lab or whoever you're using on board, and your command staff as well. So please, if you have any questions, concerns about implementing a Rapid DNA program at the local level, reach out to me and I'd be happy to help you out. So thank you.
Thank you, Christopher. Our next presenter is Melissa Sudeth. Following a 30-year career as a biology section supervisor and DNA analyst, she has recently stepped into a new role as the coordinator at the FDLE Forensic Rapid DNA program. Melissa will be sharing an update on the status of the FDLE booking station program and an overview of the Casework Rapid DNA program currently under development. Melissa, over to you.
Everyone, I'm assuming I've got my presentation up. Do I?
Not seeing it yet.
Okay. Now?
There it is. Yep.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to present at this webinar and appreciate Tim and Lauren for inviting me. Yes, this morning I wanted to go over our Forensic Rapid DNA program, and I also wanted to make sure that I provided a quick status update on our booking program. FDLE is required to remain vendor agnostic, and any mention of a commercial manufacturer is purely for identification. And in addition, this presentation represents my views and is not intended to represent official FDLE policy or position. So I wanted to get the disclaimer out of the way. FDLE began working on the concept of a rapid DNA booking program around 2020. A pathway for transferring data from a booking station to the state database was needed, so FDLE put together a pilot project to develop and test the necessary computer network. In 2021-2022, INDIS approved the ANDI 6C and the Rapid Hit ID systems for use by a booking agency, and FDLE received our authority to operate in December of that year, of 2022. Currently there are, sorry, trying to drive the car here. Currently, there are 9 booking agencies currently sending arrestee profiles to the DNA database. To date, there are approximately 1,700 specimens enrolled, with 24 arrestee hits and 69 conviction matches so far. We have not had any hits in the DISC index yet, primarily due to the fact that there's not very many profiles in the DISC index. However, we are exploring avenues for increasing that number. This image essentially captures the extent of my knowledge of the booking program. The Rapid instrument develops the profile, something magical happens within the computers, and a profile is added to the database. So The most important information on this slide is the contact information for Heather Parrish in our DNA database. Following the successful implementation of the booking program and anticipating the FBI approving the CODIS searches, FDLE initiated the Forensic DNA Rapid program in July of 2024. To gain access to CODIS, DNA profiles developed using a rapid DNA system must be reviewed by a qualified DNA analyst in this participating crime laboratory. This review is referred to as a modified rapid DNA analysis. Law enforcement partner agencies will be covered under the FDLE accreditation umbrella, which provides a method of ensuring conformance with all applicable accreditation standards and the QAS standards. As has been mentioned multiple times, it's going to be really important for agencies to work with FDLE from the very beginning. You're going to want to reach out, let us know that you're interested in participating in our program, and then work with us to make sure that your policies and procedures and facilities all meet the requirements of accreditation as well as the quality assurance standards. This is an overview of the FDLE program. Electronic DNA results exported from the rapid DNA instruments will be submitted to FDLE for modified rapid DNA analysis and subsequent searching in the CODIS database. Operators at law enforcement partner agencies will develop DNA results from appropriate evidence samples, but they will not evaluate, compare, or report the results of this testing. The electronic data will be transferred to the FDLE using our LIMS evidence submission portal, and a DNA analyst will review the data and determine the DNA profile. Once verified, the eligible profiles will be entered and searched in CODIS. The local index will be searched right away, and the search at the state and national levels will occur overnight. Notifications will be made to law enforcement as soon as they are available to us, and we intend to notify if there is hits and as well as if there are no hits, so that you know that the profile has been searched and what the results are. The analyst interpretation, any comparisons that they make, and any CODIS hits that are identified will be issued in a laboratory report. The most obvious benefits of the rapid DNA system is the speed and ease of use. Having access to DNA results quickly can obviously play a significant role in an investigation. The ability to search profiles against approximately 24 million qualifying offender and arrestee profiles and about 1.5 million forensic profiles at the national level greatly improves the possibility of identifying an unknown suspect. While the requirement to do modified rapid analysis will slow the process to some degree, the turnaround time for samples routing through the rapid program will be significantly faster compared to a traditional DNA test. There are currently approximately 6,000 pending biology service requests throughout the FDLE system, and over 56% of those requests are actually unassigned. And the vast majority of them are going to be nonviolent property crimes. Rapid DNA partnerships have the potential to reduce this backlog of untested cases by essentially increasing the staffing and providing an alternative pathway for testing. Traditional DNA testing may not even be necessary until a suspect has been identified, or if traditional DNA testing is needed for trial. So that would lead to a reduction in the number of laboratory submissions. Whoops, I didn't. Rapid DNA technology is also very useful for the identification of human remains associated with mass casualty events, such as the Surfside condominium collapse and the recent plane crash in Philadelphia. Rapid systems are also used by the military and the Department of Justice for familial relationships, to confirm familial relationships, to combat human trafficking and child smuggling. The fact that the instruments are mobile gives them a lot more flexibility than traditional DNA testing has. The biggest disadvantage for rapid DNA testing is the current limitations of the technology. Rapid systems are not high throughput. The systems work best with better quality samples. They are much less sensitive than traditional methods. And even the consumption of a small portion of a sample to do a rapid DNA test could prevent the ability of obtaining a profile using any method, whether it's traditional or rapid, particularly when you're testing samples with limited DNA. Having access to an NDIS-approved expert system for data analysis would reduce or eliminate the need for a modified rapid review. However, there is no such system available currently, and but it could be coming in the future. The associated cost for establishing and maintaining a rapid program may be cost prohibitive for some agencies. Alternatively, an agency may consider establishing a relationship with another law enforcement agency to complete their DNA or rapid DNA testing. Centralizing the testing may be preferred by smaller agencies or agencies not expecting to test a large volume of samples. And even agencies that are anticipating bringing casework online may choose to partner with an agency already, as participating in our program to gain faster access to CODIS while they are developing and working on their own program. Over the past 9 months, the primary focus has been on the program development. This includes everything from me getting a very fast education on rapid DNA technology, as well as generating policies, procedures, training programs, case acceptance policies, a validation plan, and so forth. I have identified 4 DNA analysts that have volunteered to be trained as a modified rapid DNA analyst. These are fully qualified analysts who will complete supplemental training covering the rapid programs, policies, and procedures, as well as the training provided by the instrument manufacturers. It is not the intention to train any FDLE analyst to operate a rapid instrument at this time. However, they do need to understand the operation and limitations of these systems. And as Chris had mentioned just in the previous presentation, since we do not have a plan to purchase or have a rapid DNA system within FDLE, we had to identify agencies that were willing to complete the testing of our validation samples using both the Rapid Hit ID and the Andy 6C systems. And those agencies have been identified, and we are moving forward, hopefully starting the validation very soon. The completion of that validation is currently the highest priority. Validation samples will be prepared by FDLE and will be provided to our validation partners along with the necessary testing supplies. So the validation samples will be tested additionally by the FDLE using the traditional DNA testing methods. And we will be incorporating contamination studies, sensitivity, stochastic studies, precision and accuracy studies, mixture and mock casework studies into that validation. We will also be validating a software program for the calculation of likelihood ratios. Interpretation guidelines will be established based upon these validation results. And the 2 agencies that are currently assisting us with the validation are most likely to be the first 2 agencies authorized for casework in the state of Florida. Currently, the FDLE quality management team is in the process of incorporating the Rapid DNA program into our management system, and will be applying for the scope extension following our surveillance assessment later this month. One of the biggest challenges expected is demand. It's hard to predict how many modified rapid requests will be received once the program is operational, but it's absolutely certain the number will continue to grow over time and require the program to expand. It will take time and effort to bring new partner agencies on board, and as new agencies are added, there will be a corresponding increase in the volume of submissions, number of audits, the number of document reviews, operator training events, and so forth. It will also be a challenge to manage proficiency testing and performance monitoring requirements for a growing number of operators and analysts. Now, while it may be an overly optimistic goal, FDLE intends to be operational July 1st, assuming that FBI and NDIS approval has been granted for the systems. And, we'll have to wait and see what happens. I know that there had been a comment made about reaching out and getting in touch with the laboratory. Make sure that if you are interested in partnering with FDLE for this program, contact me right away. You're going to want to be involved with the laboratory from the very beginning so that you can assure that any policies and procedures and arrangements that you're making for your program satisfy all of the accreditation standards and quality assurance standards that we will be held to. So this is my contact information as well as the contact information for Director Carney. And the Rapid DNA mailbox at the bottom is a general mailbox for anyone. So please reach out if you have any questions.
Thank you, Melissa. Our final presenter today is Doug Harris, who currently serves as the FBI Rapid DNA Implementation Advisor. Before leading the Rapid DNA effort for the FBI laboratory, Doug served as the FBI's custodian for National DNA Index Systems and served as a liaison to all CODIS programs throughout the country. Doug will give us an update on the FBI's path for forensic DNA use in CODIS. Over to you, Doug.
Mailbox is a joint account, so several people get that, but I am one of the persons on that account, but it's easy to remember. That's it, Lauren.
Thank you, Doug. We have time for just maybe one or two questions. We have one here. Will the slides be made available to the audience? Will the presentation be available for viewing at a later date? The webinar has been recorded and will be uploaded to our website, www.gorapiddna.com, within the week.
So Lauren, can I just add one thing to that? Unfortunately, mine's not available, but I give you that link to the Guide to All Things Rapid because everything is in there. That's our official stance. So please use that website. The slides are ways to explain what's in that document, right? So you have everything you need. Thanks.
Thanks, Doug. Question for Lisa. Do you know which Florida law enforcement agencies that have received the congressional earmark funds you mentioned? Do you expect earmarks for Rapid DNA to continue in future congressional budgets?
Sorry. Florida counties, I believe Lake County received a federal earmark. I'm not sure if too many other Florida counties have applied for Rapid DNA for earmarked funding. And in terms of going forward, yeah, right now Congress is indicating that they intend to continue earmarking federal funds for for all types of programs, including law enforcement programs. There's a lot of change happening in DC right now. So we'll see. Every year they have to decide how they're going to proceed. But as of right now, they are moving forward with earmarks. So we hope that that will continue. It's been a really great source of funding. But also I would note as this CODIS application becomes available to law enforcement, for DNA, that will also open the door for other federal grant use, including the Burn JAG grant that a lot of agencies receive. That grant requires, has a condition that DNA analysis has to be essentially CODIS eligible. So with this new Rapid, if that's the intent is to participate in this CODIS system, that would also open that federal grant opportunity for you.
Thanks, Lisa. Unfortunately, we are out of time for questions, and we did get a lot of questions today. So if your question wasn't answered, we will get back to you within the week. But that wraps up our webinar for today. Thank you to all of our presenters and everyone who joined us. We really hope this information is helpful as you consider the issues related to advancing Rapid DNA in your jurisdiction. feel free to reach out to GTHDNA or any of the presenters if you have any questions. And we also encourage you to visit www.gorapiddna.com, where you can find additional Rapid DNA policy and program information and updates. We are also planning to post today's webinar and most of the presentations, as Doug said, to the Go Rapid website if you would like to review it or share it with anybody in your office. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.